What happens when the TikTok ghost painting challenge meets thrift store art? A boo-tiful and zero waste Halloween decor adventure. With just a few basic supplies like dollar store craft paint, let's see what magic we can whip up. So the first step here is to wipe the painting clean with a paper towel or cloth to remove any dust or dirt. Next, I grabbed some simple white dollar store craft paint and put it on my palette. Using a small detailing brush, I began outlining the first ghost shape. So here I decided to put my first ghost on the left side of the painting near the tree, and also I try to keep the ghost proportional to the tree that's already in the scene. Now you're going to notice this ghost has a rounded top with slanted sides, and its bottom is kind of like flowing like onto the grass like a ruffled skirt. Once I was happy with the shape, I then simply just filled it in with white paint. I want to mention here that I took a few minutes before this tutorial began to plan out where each of my ghosts were going to go. So my tip here is take a few minutes to understand the story of your thrifted painting is already telling, then find fun ways to inject ghosts into that story, adding another layer of creativity and personality. So for example, since my painting had water in it, I imagined one of the ghosts sitting in a small rowboat floating along the river. And then in the next step, I'm going to be mixing some gray paint using white and black. And then I'm going to be adding it to the bottom portion of my ghost as shadows to make it look like the ghost is floating right into the scene towards the tree. And then I'm going to be adding the black eyes on the ghost, and I made the mistake here of adding it before my white below was dry, so it blended a bit and didn't give that crisp look. So to avoid that, I would let the white of the ghost completely dry and then go ahead and add your eyes in. Once you're done with your first ghost, you get to have fun to bring your second ghost into the scene. Now for this ghost, I wanted it to be a little bit more playful and kind of playing a peekaboo, hiding behind the tree. And then I filled it in the same way I did for the first ghost. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that if you want softer gray shadows for your ghost, don't be afraid to let it dry a little bit and then relayer some white over top to soften those gray lines to make it look a little bit more natural. Now for the third ghost, I was super inspired to add a little boat right in the middle of the water, and then I'm going to be painting a ghost smack in the middle of it. So don't be afraid here to add in non-ghost items to your painting. I saw some really cute ideas from other artists that I wanted to share with you to give you a little bit of inspiration. So there was a really cute painting of a group of ghosts that were all wearing witches' hats, which was super cute and very Halloween-y. There was another one where a ghost was holding a pumpkin, or even a ghost that was in a pumpkin patch, which makes it really fall oriented. Another one is if you have trees in your painting, you can create a nice tree swing with a ghost swinging from it. And then I saw another super cute one of a bunch of ghosts holding on to helium balloons that were black, and it looked really dramatic and very Halloween-y as well. Now, if you're working with a landscape that has trees in it that look more summery and spring, and you want to bring more of that fall vibe, in a later step, I'm going to show you how to add some beautiful red foliage into that tree you see on the right. So this painting looks way more fall instead of spring and summer. So now a quick little back history behind this trend. It started on TikTok back in 2023, and it is still going strong this year, and I can totally see why. I didn't get a chance to do it last year, so I'm going to do it for sure this year, and I really enjoyed making it for a few different reasons. And one being it was really economical and cheap. Now, if you can't find a painting at your thrift store, you can also check out the Buy Nothing groups on Facebook, which is also another great resource for helping to keep things cheap, economical, and zero waste. Another reason is that it's zero waste, and you're actually potentially saving a piece of art from ending up in the garbage dump. So for that reason alone, I highly encourage this project. And the last reason is I found it was really stress-free to make because I found 80% of the painting was already complete, and it felt like I was just doing those final finishing touches on a painting. Now, with any creative idea, there's always the flip side or the dark side to think about. And it's a good thing to bring up before jumping into making this project to make sure that it vibes with your values. So I found two solid counterpoints when researching about this trend, and one person had mentioned that it could mess up the original artist's work. So that's something to keep in mind to make sure you're okay with doing that. The way I look at it is, as an artist myself, if someone buys my painting in the future and it ends up at a thrift store, I'd rather someone use it creatively and add their own flair to it instead of it potentially ending up in the garbage dump. But again, that's my personal value and opinion, and it might not be the same as yours. So it's important to think about it critically before jumping into this trend. Another person mentioned that imagine painting a ghost on something and then finding out later it's worth 50 million bucks. So on the later point, doing a quick Google Lens search before you start painting your thrifted find might be a smart move. Now we're at the last step of this painting, and I've added in all my ghosts, and now I'm going to add some nice fall colors to my trees to make this painting really feel like the ghosts are in an autumn scene. So I'm just grabbing some red paint, putting that on my palette, and I'm also going to be adding a little bit of white to it to mute that red, because I want to make sure that the color that I'm putting on the tree is similar to the other colors that are happening in the painting to make the whole piece look very cohesive in the end. And then I'm also going to be grabbing my fan brush, which is an excellent brush to add foliage onto trees or bushes or even grass. It makes a really nice texture and makes it look more realistic. So I'm just going to add some of that muted red paint to the end of my bristles on my fan brush, and then I'm going to gently tap it down on my painting using the sides of my fan brush opposed to the entire brush. The key here is to use very gentle tapping motion in order to avoid big blobs of paint and to get that really nifty texture. Now, if you're still on the fence about this DIY thrifted art trend, I totally get it. But don't let that stop you from creating trendy Halloween decor. If you want to start from scratch, check out my Etsy-inspired vintage ghost painting tutorial right here. And as always, sending you lots of peace, love, and color your way.